Well, for the first time during the war in Gaza, Israeli officials are confirming that the Israeli government has been arming local Palestinian militias in the Gaza Strip in what's being described as an effort to counter Hamas. The Israeli Prime Minister himself saying that this is a good thing, that these are clans which oppose Hamas, and that all of this was being done under the, quote, advice of security elements. But this is creating an enormous uproar among figures in the Israeli opposition, including figures on both the left and the right side of the spectrum. The former Israeli Defense Minister, Avigdor Lieberman, saying that this is complete madness. He actually was the first to reveal that this was happening this past Wednesday. We are also hearing from Yair Lapid, the leader of the opposition, saying that all of this will lead to more disasters. And Yair Golan, another prominent left-wing opposition member, who says that this is creating a, quote, new ticking time bomb in the Gaza Strip. Now, the main argument from these opposition figures is that no one can guarantee that these weapons won't ultimately be pointed towards Israeli soldiers in Gaza or towards Israel in the long run. Two Israeli officials also telling us that this operation was authorized by the Israeli Prime Minister without the approval of Israel's security cabinet. Hamas is also weighing in, saying that Israel is aiming to create a, quote, state of insecurity and social chaos by sending these weapons in. We also understand that one of the groups that's being armed is led by a man named Yasser Abu Shabab, who leads a local militia in the eastern part of Rafah, in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. He has been accused in the past of looting and reselling trucks of humanitarian aid, quite a notorious figure inside of Gaza. And so ultimately the question is, how does this fit into the long-term plan? Because the Israeli Prime Minister has also been criticized for not having a long-term plan for the end of the war in Gaza, for the day after the war, and not enabling a sufficient alternative governing structure in Gaza to Hamas's leadership. It's not clear that this fits into that long-term plan, or whether it could be something aimed more at opposing Hamas at the moment and perhaps creating that increased instability and challenges to Hamas's leadership. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, Tel Aviv.
Let's stay in Gaza because UNICEF says more than 50,000 children have been killed or injured in Gaza since the war began. That's one child every 20 minutes. UNICEF global spokesperson James Elder is on the ground in Gaza. He visited a little girl in hospital who was left paralyzed by an airstrike. Have a look at this.
This has to stop. Jenna wants her story told. Understand that we're just walking in this hospital and we need another little child, 11-year-old Jenna, who yesterday was playing with her friend when there was an airstrike. This is yesterday. She's paralysed from the waist down. Now, so many people who watch these videos, their heart is already here. They want this war on children to stop. So this is not about that. This is for those people with influence, those people who have leverage for anyone to stop this war on children.
And James Elder joins us now live from Al-Mawasi, an area once considered a safe zone. James, great that you're back with us on the show. Important that you're there in Gaza too. You introduced, we played that little clip there, I'm sure you heard, of Jenna, I think 11-year-old Jenna, who you say is paralyzed from the waist down, who cannot be evacuated. And like her story, I imagine there are so many others. You've been there, I think, for 4 or 5 days or so. Correct me if I'm wrong. Can you give us a sense of what you've seen, James?
Yeah. Every time I come, it is worse than the time before Easter, which of course makes sense because the bombardment continues. We've seen these long blockades, and they only end in terms of humanitarian aid when we get warnings that we're very close to famine, and they're just loosened a little bit, but it's not enough to remove the deprivation by any sense. And right now, of course, we are again in a heavy restriction. So I'm seeing a couple of things that across the Gaza Strip they hadn't seen. Hand to mouth, a lot of children, people showing me that universal symbol if they're just very hungry. I've seen children with severe malnourishment in hospitals who will not be alive next week. They just don't have the care or the food that they possibly need. And I think the thing that I'm noticing in hospitals is that sheer lack of medicine, the sheer lack of painkiller. I've seen more than 100 children with amputations and with ghastly trauma wounds from bomb blasts and missiles and airstrikes. Yesterday in the hospital, I heard those the screams, these blood-curdling screams from children because they don't have painkillers. I mean, a little girl who's had a double amputation, Isa, at her hip, this little girl, without painkillers. This is a constant now. So a child survives a bombardment, is not allowed to leave, and the medicines are not allowed to come in. I saw this in a day or two. This is 600 days of which these children are enduring this.
Welcome to the show, Greta and Yasmin. Great to have you with us. You set sail a few days ago. I want you to tell me how the trip is going and how you guys are doing.
We're doing well, thank you. Spirits are high. We're doing the things that we would do at home, just in a different way. There are drones hovering above us for 3 nights now. Greek drones made by Israel, but it's going well. Even if there are drones hovering above us, we are still on our way to Gaza. There's no turning back, and we're hoping to make it into Gaza within 2 days.
So Greta, you want to make it into Gaza. That's the ultimate plan, despite the fact the Israeli military says they're prepared for all scenarios. So when you're hearing those drones above you, how do you feel?
All those scenarios were included in our risk assessments that we have made prior to getting out on this mission. And of course, we know that it's a very risky mission, and we know that previous experiences with flotillas like this has resulted in attacks, interceptions, violence, and even cases of death. But of course, none of those risks are even remotely as high as to the risk that Palestinians are facing every day just by trying to survive. And right now, as you said, the mission is to get to Gaza to be able to deliver and distribute the humanitarian aid that we're carrying. But we are well aware of the risks going there, but we are aiming for that.
So you were talking, Greta, about the risk assessment and being prepared for any eventuality in any scenario. So let me ask you this. How far are you willing to go? Because we don't know what kind of confrontation you could face. We just know that you've been warned.
Yeah, and of course the uncertainties are very big here. We have gone out on this mission knowing the risks. But again, not saying anything in times of injustice, when we are facing genocide, to be silent is by far a bigger risk than getting on this mission. And we are preparing to respond in a non-violent way. We are 12 peaceful volunteers on this mission. We are not carrying weapons. We are carrying food, sanitary products, medical supplies, things that are necessary to get into Gaza that have been prevented by Israel from getting into Gaza. And we are sailing on international waters bringing humanitarian aid. If they stop this humanitarian aid, that is a crime. We are not doing anything wrong here. We are just doing our part to continue to try to break the siege on Gaza and to open up a humanitarian corridor.
Yasmin, a US lawmaker posted this on social media and says that I hope that Greta and her friends can swim. We've got that up on screen right now. I'm sure you've seen this. What is your response to that?
Well, my response would be we are great swimmers. We are very athletic. And I am from the Middle East, so I'm very good with swimming in the Mediterranean. But these comments just show us how our leaders are responding to a humanitarian mission, how our leaders are not doing what they're supposed to do, so that we take on this task as activists to do exactly what our leaders are supposed to do: stop the starvation, lift the illegal blockade on Gaza, which is over a decade old. And we've been watching a genocide for almost 20 months now, and nothing has happened. Instead of shipping aid and helping the Palestinians in Gaza, they're shipping more and more weapons.